He would be embarrassed.
3 days after the killing of the American soldier, the U.S. retaliated.
More than 20,000 U.S. soldiers, Marines, airmen, and sailors launched their attack in the early morning darkness. They were backed by swarms of helicopters, ships, and planes.
General Noriega's reckless threats and attacks upon Americans in Panama created an imminent danger to the 35,000 American citizens in Panama. As president, I have no higher obligation than to safeguard the lives of American citizens.
The major objective of Operation Just Cause was to capture General Noriega and bring him to trial in Miami on federal drug charges. It was, in effect, a drug bust led by the U.S. military.
Hey, I got one magazine!
This is what life was like on just one street corner in Panama City today. A squad of American soldiers and some luckless Panamanian civilians pinned down for hours by mortars, rocket grenades, and bullets. A warehouse down the street explodes in flames. Some of Manuel Noriega's die-hard loyalists have turned into urban guerrillas, and this is the result. They haven't found Noriega himself yet, but they have found thousands of weapons, stashes of money and cocaine, and evidence that Noriega apparently practiced voodoo blood rituals.
It took less than 1 day for the military to bring the situation under control.
The Pentagon says all organized resistance from Panamanian defense forces has ended, but the news is not all good. American casualties are now put at 15 dead and 59 wounded.
And the loss of civilian lives in the Panama invasion, collateral damage was the Pentagon's euphemism, was estimated to be more than 500 and conceivably up to 2,000 people.
Houses and businesses in the city have been destroyed during the fighting. Large numbers of Panamanians have been made homeless, and for them, the U.S. Army has provided makeshift shelters. Looting is reported out of control in some sections of the capital. Casualty figures are mounting daily. The economy, already weak before the invasion, is now all but destroyed.
But at first, the U.S. could not find General Noriega despite a $1 million price on his head.
After 4 days of looking, now we finally know where Manuel Noriega is. Here, at the Papal Nuncios in Panama City. Diplomatically speaking, foreign soil belonging to the Vatican.
The United States has moved these trucks into driveways near the back to block any possible fast escape. They've shut out the street lights so there's no light at night. Moved in tanks as part of roadblocks such as this one, just a few yards from where Noriega is being held. And over here, interestingly enough, a speaker system through which statements by President Bush and rock music are being pumped out on a 24-hour-a-day basis as part of the psychological pressure that the United States wants to keep drumming into Noriega inside that compound.
Finally, after 10 days of noise and negotiation, Panama's maximum leaders surrendered to American officials.
The motorcade bearing Noriega zoomed into the federal courthouse in Miami early this morning. Late today, the former dictator, still sporting his uniform and looking solemn, was finally arraigned. U.S. officials said they made no deal, agreed to drop no charges in exchange for his surrender. So if convicted, Noriega could spend the rest of his life in jail.
Haiti is the second oldest independent country in the New World, just behind the United States. But unlike its big brother to the north, Haiti has had a violent and repressive political history. The downfall of the Duvaliers, Haiti's longtime dictators in the mid-1980s, led to the country's first free elections, elections that brought the radical Catholic priest Jean-Bertrand Aristide to the presidency. But after just 7 months in office, Aristide was overthrown by Haiti's military in a bloody 1991 coup, a coup that drove thousands of Haitians into boats in their attempt to escape to the United States.
What to do about a nation at sea, one so close to these shores that even little boats crammed and leaking can bring its people here, and have many times. Haiti seems only to have known trouble and poverty and grief. Haitians had reason to hope that their new president might bring change at last, and then their new president was ousted.
Ousted and replaced by a military dictatorship that brutalized its opponents.
The beleaguered main hospital in Port-au-Prince was struggling to cope today with a growing number of victims of the random violence. No one knows how many people have been killed and wounded, but this ward alone was jammed with some 50 gunshot victims.
By 1992, at least 32,000 Haitians had tried to flee the island by boat, only to be turned back by the U.S. Coast Guard. President Bush said America could only open its golden door so far.
The Statue of Liberty still stands, and we still open our arms under our law to people that are politically oppressed. But we are not bound to have an open policy where everybody in economic deprivation around the world can come to the United States.
In contrast, Bill Clinton, Bush's opponent in the 1992 presidential campaign, favored a more generous approach.
I think they are political refugees. My own view is that we should keep the refugees here until we can restore democracy to Haiti and restore the duly elected government there.
Once elected president, however, Clinton changed his mind.
The Clinton administration's first foreign policy move was to impose a naval blockade around Haiti. It has worked in the sense that it has stopped the flow of refugees, but nobody believes it has solved the problem.
The problem being that the refugees now had no place to go. That brought protests from Haitian Americans and their friends in Washington.
We've gotten a rather strange mixture of incompetence and neglect and cynicism.
Does anyone believe that were these refugees white, that we would be scooping them out of the ocean like so much pond scum, throwing them back into the killing fields of this place? Does anyone believe that? Of course not.
Randall Robinson, a prominent opponent of Clinton's Haiti policy, began a hunger strike. It was just the beginning.
3 members of Congress were arrested today when they staged a protest outside the White House. They're supporting activist Randall Robinson in the 24th day of his hunger strike.
When all this killing started, when it became obvious...
3 days later, Clinton eased his refugee policy, allowing some Haitians to be admitted to the U.S. for political reasons. Robinson ended his fast.
I wanted the policy changed, and the policy has changed. The point is that people fleeing for safety will get hearings.
Even as the administration softened its policy, the political violence continued in Haiti. Violence many believed was instigated by Haiti's military.
As General Cedras sees it, the military saved Haiti from a radical threat when it overthrew this man, President Aristide.
Under any circumstances, do you see President Aristide returning to this country to resume power? Nous ne pouvons pas.
We cannot run the risk in this country to expose ourselves to a populist power.
And so the populist power, President Aristide, remains stranded in Washington, where he has managed to mobilize an influential network of congressional backers and President Clinton.
I want to welcome President Aristide back to the White House.
Under increasing pressure from Washington, Lieutenant General Cedras finally met with Aristide on Governor's Island in New York Harbor in 1993. Afterward, they agreed that the military junta would step down. The first step came in October with the dispatch of U.S. peacekeepers to Haiti. Their arrival was supposed to coincide with the resignation of General Cedras, but it didn't happen. Instead, the landing party got a nasty surprise.
Gangs of Haitian gunmen kept the first shipload of U.S. peacekeepers from coming ashore today. They roughed up Americans at the port.
They all had weapons, and they start screaming, and they attacked the car where Charge d'Affaires was, and then they turned on us and they attacked us.
To everyone's surprise, a day later, the White House aborted the mission. Washington was fearful that American soldiers might be attacked and killed if the Harlan County tried to dock.
Just think about it. Here we are, the most powerful military nation on earth. No one can even remotely challenge us. And a ragtag bunch of thugs, less than 100 of them, turns back a United States ship.
By September 1994, Clinton was fed up. Armed with a UN resolution, the president threatened to invade Haiti.
The message of the United States to the Haitian dictators is clear. Your time is up. Leave now, or we will force you from power.
President Clinton says, You must go.
Le président Clinton a dit que vous devez partir.
Your time is finished.
Votre temps est terminé.
You know that out there is a great American invasion force.
Vous savez que dehors, il y a une grosse force d'intervention américaine.
Are you prepared to go?
Est-ce que vous êtes prêt à partir?
Je suis de préférence préparé à lutter avec mon peuple.
I'm rather prepared to fight with my people.
The aircraft carrier America, the ship that will carry part of the assault force for next week's planned invasion of Haiti, left Norfolk today, bound for the Caribbean. One day behind the America, the Eisenhower, carrying helicopters and infantry that will go into Haiti after the initial assault.
As the U.S. buildup continued, Haiti's military leaders remained defiant. Finally, with the invasion a hair trigger away, President Clinton agreed to dispatch former President Jimmy Carter to Haiti to make a last-ditch effort to forge a peaceful solution. Carter's negotiating team included General Colin Powell, Senator Sam Nunn, and aide Robert Pastor.
President Clinton had given us instructions to arrive in Haiti at noon on Saturday, and in 24 hours to secure agreement from the Haitian military to get them to withdraw from power and to permit Aristide to return. This is quite a challenge in 24 hours.
The Carter delegation has been under pressure from Washington, quote unquote, since about 3 o'clock in the afternoon to leave Haiti, but the former President Carter has insisted on staying.
And I remember very vividly when President Clinton said very forcefully, President Carter, Senator Nunn, General Powell, I want you out of that country right now. You're to leave right now.
I told President Carter, I said, this is uncomfortable for me. We've been friends a long time. I'm going to have to order you out of there in 30 more minutes. You've got to get out.
But Carter convinced Clinton he was close enough to a final agreement to warrant a few more hours of talk. The problem was, the order to execute the invasion had already been signed, and the first C-130 had taken off for Haiti from Fort Bragg at 6:47 p.m.
There had never been a plan to have them talking while American planes were flying.
Some of the Haitians around General Cedras and the others were then beginning to grumble, saying things like, this has been a double cross. This Carter thing was all just a ploy to set up the invasion.
But the threat of invasion was enough to persuade General Cedras to back down, and so fighting was averted.
He said, very quickly to summarize my answer, we will take peace instead of war. I will sign this agreement.
Nonetheless, U.S. forces landed in Haiti to enforce the agreement. Aristide was finally back in power.
We will move from violence to non-violence.
People danced down the streets. They chanted Aristide, the same way other people chanted Mandela not that long ago, a couple of continents away.
First job for the U.S. troops, disarming the terrorists known as attachés, who were responsible for much of Haiti's mayhem. And they had to prevent ordinary Haitians from exacting revenge, especially at one point when a pro-Aristide celebration turned violent.
A grenade exploded in the middle of the march. Instants later, the street was littered with the dead, the dying, and the wounded. The demonstration was drenched in blood and tears. Anyone the crowd didn't recognize as a friend was in very serious trouble. One man was identified as an attaché. He was pummeled by the mob. They would have killed him. They were close to killing him. But U.S. troops moved in and saved his life. He was handcuffed and held down by an American boot. Another American helped a wounded man, consoled him, assured him ambulances were on the way. But before they could get there, Humvees started evacuating the injured.
In fact, some of the fiercest Haitian critics were surprised by the humane behavior of American soldiers.
The U.S. troops have really changed my mind. I expected brutality, a lot of brutality from them, bombing, killing, and instead they have shown great humanity toward the people. And it's amazing, they have won the heart of most of the people here.
Over the first 2 centuries of American history, there have been frequent and at times dramatic shifts in U.S. foreign policy. Think of the 180-degree arcs U.S. policy toward Russia has undergone, from friend in World War II to implacable enemy during the Cold War, back to wary partnership. But through all those shifts, there has been one enduring constant. The unwritten amendment the United States has added to the Monroe Doctrine giving it the right to intervene in Latin America whenever it sees fit. No one, of course, can predict the future path of U.S. foreign relations. But if the past is any guide, the one immutable that will remain is America's proprietary interest in her neighbors to the south. I'm Mike Wallace, and this is the 20th century.